growing up in New Jersey and matriculated in North Carolina was a great plus for me because it allowed me, A&T did something that it was a special thing for me. They allowed me two things. They allowed me to get an education, and they allowed me an opportunity to play basketball. Basketball became secondary to education for me when I came to A&T, and to this day, I still have nothing but great feelings for A&T. Unfortunately, I don't get back as much as I can, but I don't know if any of you understood this, but years ago they developed a thing called a telephone. So I do stay in touch. Coach Irvin, who was the coach when I was here, but more importantly, in fact, some of my teammates and classmates are here today and we stay in touch. Unfortunately, I live out on the West Coast, but I found out they had a telephone, and so we do talk periodically, but it's always great. I pick up the newspapers every day. The first thing I look at when I look for the sports scores is how A&T did. Some of the people that were in the CIAA when I was here, I have to, in a nice way, get on when A&T beats them. So A&T has done very, very well, but it's always been very special to me, and the Chancellor's always been number one because he encourages something that I found out from high school. Get an education, and everything else takes care of itself. My wife's an educator, so I used to have to deal with that. I'm sure my son sometimes asked me, to go in two cars so he didn't have to listen to her talk about education all the time. But I've been very, very special with the relationships that I have, and a number of them are here today, and we stay in touch. But A&T has always been great, in my mind, and I appreciate everything that's done for me.
Talk about the emotions of having your jersey retired, the only player. When you looked up there and you see it in the rafters like that.
I have something special that I always talk about. I don't know if any of you have heard about a guy named Bill Cosby. Guy Rogers was my roommate when I played in Philadelphia, and he played at Temple, and he knew Bill very, very well. And the Warriors did something that A&T has done for me. They retired my number and put it on the wall. And Bill asked me, he said, "Do you know why they retired your number and put it up on the wall?" So I'm not very braggadocious, but I always say, well, maybe I'm a fairly decent player, or maybe I was a fairly decent person. He said, "No, the reason they retired your number and put it on the wall is so you can't come back again." So it's nice for them to retire my number, but I think the reason is they don't want me to come back and play. But I know it's a special, special feeling, and one that I really appreciate, and one that I've always cherished.
It is with great pleasure that I'm even able to interview you. How does it feel to be, a black pioneer in the NBA?
Yeah, people have to come before you. Anytime you do anything, you never do it on your own. Someone has to be the person before you. And there are a number of people who came before me. There's a guy named Bill Russell, you may have heard of him. He was the first African American to coach in the NBA. I was second. But there are a number of players. Don Barksdale came before me as a player. And it's not so important where you came in, it's what you did when you got there. And I had a number of role models going all the way back to high school in New Jersey. And I don't like to get into certain things, but there are a number of people that encouraged me to become an educated person first. And I've always appreciated that my wife being a school teacher, sometimes I have to take my son someplace else because with his mother being a school teacher, he had to listen to her a lot of times about school. And here she is today, but I just want to introduce her. Wilhelmina, raise your hand so they see who you are. So when the hand goes up, you don't talk about certain things, you talk about education. So my wife does a great job, and one that kept our children on the right track.
If you could tell our generation anything, what would it be? Our generation.
Well, work hard at what you do. Understand that there's an old saying, there's no free ride. What you have to do is you have to go out and understand that there are a number of people trying to do the things that help you develop into a better person, but you have to understand it. And to this day, some of my teammates are here, and we can always laugh about it because we're all in the same boat. No one ever, gets a free pass. You have to toe the line and do the things that are necessary. And that's what I've always been most proud of, the fact that education became number one. The day I walked in on A&T's campus, I made a commitment to my mother, my father, my high school coaches, and my teacher. I was going to graduate in 4 years. I didn't care what happened, I was going to graduate in 4 years. And I had a teacher here at A&T, and Miss Magna, she's still here. She read the riot act to me day one, and she told me that I was going to graduate in 4 years. And I was kind of nervous and concerned, but guess what? She was right. I graduated in 4 years because it took a lot of work and a lot of effort, but A&T was the one that I still have nothing but great feelings for A&T, and anything I can do to help them, I always try to do it.
Any other questions for Mr. Attles?
You never left the game, you stayed with it. Let's talk about the evolution of the game, the players that were around when you were in college, and what type of game and style it is today.
Well, the game of basketball has always been the same. There's a hoop on both ends, there's one ball, and the key for me from an offensive standpoint is to put the ball in the basket. From a defensive standpoint, to keep the other team from scoring. It's not always easy. I played against some pretty good people. North Carolina College was pretty good, but we were a little better. But they had nothing great thing to say about the double A when I was in it. And then, of course, when I got an opportunity to go, I never thought I'd get the opportunity to play professional basketball. Because basketball, to me, was something that allowed me to get an education. That was the most important thing as far as basketball is concerned, as far as I was concerned. The fact that I got an opportunity to graduate was number one. To get a chance to play professional basketball was number two. To get a chance to be a coach in the NBA was number three. All these things, really, I didn't think about very much. But I had a plaque in my house that was the highest academic average my senior year of all the athletes. That, to me, was more important than the All-American trophy that I had or anything else, because I was able to do something I never thought I could do. I was told, why don't you get a job, because you'll never be able to graduate college. The day I graduated, I took my diploma to the person who told me this. Not that I was kind of sticking it in his face, but like this. And this was an administrator at a high school I went to. He told me, well, why don't you get a job? You need to go out and get a job. Because education, you're not going to be able to play professional basketball. That's what he told me. Fortunately, he wasn't a coach. But I was able to, but that didn't bother me. What bothered me was the fact that I had to make a decision on education, and I made the right decision because education is what I was taught here at A&T, and I've always appreciated that.
It seems like education is imperative in your life, and that is key. But what are some cherishable moments that you had in the NBA?
Well, the first cherishable moment was when they told me they were going to keep me. Because, see, first of all, you have to understand, when I came into the NBA, there were 8 teams. And teams were predicated on where you went to school. For instance, if you didn't go to a big school, then people didn't think that people would come to see you play after the fact. So, when I got an opportunity to go try out, I went to A&T. People said, A&T, where's A&T? Well, there had been a number of football players that had played, J.D. Smith and a few other guys, but they never thought too much about basketball. And, there was a guy named Will Chamberlain, you may have heard of him, a guy named Guy Rogers, Paul Harris, and Tom Gover. They all went to big schools. And here's this little guy from Newark, Jersey, we went to North Carolina A&T. Where's that? It's in Greensboro, North Carolina. Well, someone told me a long time ago, his name had to be Earl Lord. You may have heard of Earl. Went to school in Virginia. He said the equalizer is what you do on the floor, not what you do in the newspaper. So when I got on the floor, some people said, well, you know what? This boy might be able to play. And I never thought about it very much because, like I said, I was accepted a job teaching school. And someone told me, said, a guy named Vince Miller, who I played with here at A&T, who played with Will in Philadelphia, he told me, he said, you can make that team. Well, I didn't think very much of it because I accepted a job teaching school. And so I said, I'll just go out and try out for a week. Well, as it turned out, that was 1960. last week I got a paycheck from the Warriors, so it's been quite a while since I've been around. So, but I never told them that I couldn't play basketball anymore. But they would look at me and say, no, you can't play anymore. We don't want you anymore. No, I've been very, very fortunate. And my wife is a teacher, and fortunately, you know, she made sure I got the education part.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Attles.